Hey everybody, welcome to Breakfast All Day. Matt, Christy, Alonzo talking about Little Joe that premiered at Cannes earlier this year, now making its way into theaters. December is crazy, especially when you've written a Christmas movie book and you're still promoting the dang thing. So I haven't seen it yet, but they have.
Are you guys aware that Alonzo wrote a book about Christmas movies? It's called Have Yourself a Movie Little Christmas. It's a pun, see, because there's a song title called Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, but this is about movies. Anyway, I'll describe Little Joe.
Please do.
Perfect.
Are you messing with my levels, Matt?
No, I'm trying to mess with mine.
Okay.
But it's a little off, sorry.
Thank you. I literally just wrote about Little Joe just yesterday, so it's all fresh in my mind. So Emily Beecham is a scientist. She is the lead scientist at this like very high-tech lab in London, and she's in charge of designing this plant that releases a scent that triggers happiness. It's like a mood-altering, anti-depression happy plant. And it is this vibrant shade of red. Like when the bud opens, the little tendrils kind of gently come out and they wave in the breeze like they're saying hello to you.
It looks like an anemone almost.
It's very, very pretty. And what happens though is that people who inhale the pollen end up becoming like kind of enslaved by this plant. I mean, it's kind of like an evil plant, which sounds way more interesting than the movie actually is, because there is like this kind of antiseptic aesthetic to the whole film, because a lot of it takes place in labs, and it's a very conscious choice on the part of Jessica Hausner, who is the director's Austrian director making her English language debut. And so everything is like really cold and clinical, and she's very precise with her camera movements, like lateral, slow, hypnotic, deliberate lateral camera movements, like across this lab full of these like vibrantly hued flowers. Or even like
my favorite is these zooms on a two shot of people talking to each other, and the slow zooms that come in so much that both people slip off the sides of the screen and it would just be focused on the
whatever's
curtain.
in the background. So what happens is she's a single mom, Alice, and she's got a teenage son played by Kit Connor, who is the voice of Pantaleimon on his Dark Materials. There you go. And so she brings home a plant for him. His name is Joe. She names a plant after him, Little Joe.
We have our other movie we're talking about also has a tie-in to his Dark Materials, because the little kid in Aeronauts is the little kid, one of the lost boys, her best friend.
Roger?
Yeah.
Roger. Also, there are like wild flying contraptions. Lin-Manuel Miranda has
but we're
like
not
a
talking
balloon,
about that one yet.
And that happens on the TV show too. Anyway, Little Joe's a plant on the ground, and
named after Joe.
Named after
the boy.
Joe, Little Joe. And so people come in contact with the plant and they inhale the pollen, and it doesn't really make them happy. It just kind of makes them like zombified, flat versions of themselves. And I wonder how much of this is like an indictment of people's reliance on pharmaceuticals to even out the highs and lows of their emotions and their moods. I wonder, because the plant doesn't make anybody happy. Nobody's like overjoyed or like ecstatic when they come in contact with it. They become like yeah, I'm fine. Like they're not.
They're pod people.
Yeah, they are. And there is, you can see how Invasion of the Body Snatchers is kind of a touchstone here. I really appreciate the obsession with just the production design and the use of color, because it is so cold that she will just use these pops of color, like a dark green in the cafeteria chairs, or the light blue of the lockers at their lab, or like the purple frosting on a piece of cake. But the flowers themselves are, and the hot pink grow lights in the lab, like the hovering kind of menacing feeling of dread that the lights create.
Do they emit a hum?
They do. There's a slight hum.
They do, coupled with the other thing, and you haven't talked at all about the score, because the score is this Japanese Noi style music that can be very percussive and make you jump.
It's lots of jolts.
And lots of jolts, and then lots of silence before something else comes in.
And then they mix in dog barking too.
Right, and it adds a lot to the tension. I like this a lot more than you did.
Yeah, you did.
I feel so. This movie for me is, it's a sort of thin idea that I think stylistically gets taken probably about as far as it could go, and that kind of worked for me. yes, it's definitely got some body snatchers in it. It's, to a certain extent, you could also argue it's got a little bit of Stepford Wives in it, because and it touches on some existential questions later in the film, like, well, if you only think you're happy, does that matter, right? If what's the difference? I found it, because it starts to get to a point where our lead scientist character can't figure out who to trust and because people do act relatively normal. That all kind of worked for me. Like, again, this isn't the tightest script. It's not the smartest necessarily that I've ever seen. It does feel a little bit more like this would have been better off as an hour-long Twilight Zone.
The Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, it feels like an
Black
episode.
Mirror. I mean, Black Mirror, definitely. Although that's more about technology. But, this one, you could almost take it as a read on social media, right? Replace the flower with social media, and what's the movie saying about people who try and remain off of it, and whereas everybody seems to be on it now, and it's very, like Facebook's a good example. Like, people leave Facebook, but so many other people are still on it. It may be difficult, or insert whatever social media you like at this point, or the internet in general. But yeah, this worked. I found it really tense. I did find myself kind of into it, and partly the style, because I really was not sure where it was going to go, and then kind of having this attitude like, well, I can't wait to see what's going on next in this movie.
Yeah,
I kind of like that.
It's enormously stylish. I mean, it begins with these overhead shots. These kind of like slowly spinning overhead shots, like looking over these giant beds of flowers in this lab. And you realize later on that that's the perspective of the surveillance cameras that are like spinning, quietly circling the floor of the lab here. I love the style of it. I just don't know that it necessarily builds to anything. I'm not quite sure what she's trying to say here.
Flowers are evil.
I wish, yeah. I mean, the thing is,
Miss Seymour.
and also, it is sort of like a dryly British kind of Little Shop of Horrors. It really is, but it never goes into full on terror. Like, it's never terrifying. It's like kind of like a quiet hum, as you say, Alonzo. Is there a hum coming from the hot pink grow lights? That's kind of what this movie is. So like sort of a steady, quiet hum that doesn't really build to anything, and I'm not sure what the point is at the end.
What was it the Gaspar Noé movie where we went to that screening where that asshole wouldn't get off his phone?
Climax.
This movie made me think of Climax a little bit. The energy is completely different, but
shit goes down in Climax.
I kind of felt like this in Climax.
Okay, just like on edge.
Just on edge and kind of not knowing where it's going, and super stylistic, and but Climax, I think, is a tighter movie with the story that it's telling. Style goes a long way for me, I guess.
Yeah, and it does for me ordinarily as well. And Emily Beecham is very good in this as Alice, as the mom, because she's just chilling in it. Like, she's just on message. She's focused. She wants to get these flowers out to the fair, this big manufacturer's fair, before somebody else steals the idea. So she's all about like, I created this, I want to get it out there, and like, damn to the, whatever repercussions there are to this. She has some kind of amusing, awkward interactions with Ben Whishaw, who plays her colleague, who like awkwardly hits on her, and then they have like a couple of like painful like after work drink dates. But even with that, I wonder, is she trying to say like, because Ben Whishaw has inhaled the pollen at this point, is he incapable of having a genuine human connection with somebody else because he's now under the influence of this evil plant? I don't know.
A little bit makes me wonder, because our main character, the actress
Emily Beecham
is so focused to the exclusion of everything else, to the point that she's kind of losing her relationship. Her marriage failed. She's losing her relationship with her son, and her early interactions with Whishaw, she won't respond, and she's very closed off and not particularly emotional. She as I think about it, she's kind of inadvertently turning others around her into that. Because as they inhale,
she is the flower.
Well,
and she has red hair. Ooh. I like that. It's a good interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, she's so focused to the exclusion of everything else, and only wants to breed that flower.
Interesting.
She's, or create that flower. She's inadvertently turning others towards that mindset.
That's really interesting. I wrote kind of half jokingly in my review for Roger Ebert that it's a cautionary tale about a mom who's so busy with her work that she doesn't even realize that her teenage son has been infected by an evil plant. It is kind of that.
Well, it's tough to tell with teenagers. They're awful.
I mean, he's surly, and then he gets a girlfriend. That makes me even surlier, which I enjoyed. Anyway, I'm saying a 5.4.
I liked it a lot more than you. I gave it, what did I give it?
You said 8.5.
8.5, yeah.
All right.
I kind of dug this.
Our number's a 7. It's at 68% on the tomato meter.
All right. Thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on the social media, if you're still on them, at BeFastAllDay. And check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. So much extra content for our subscribers right now, currently talking about The Mandalorian, Watchmen, His Dark Materials, and The Morning Show. So check all of that out. Other good stuff coming up. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye.
Thanks, bye.